I'm here to show you some main events in Helen Keller's life. At the age of 5, Helen wanted everything she knew that tasted good, especially candy. At the age of 7, a lady named Anne Sullivan came to help Helen in many ways. She taught Helen to spell sign language in her hand.
Good, Helen, good.
At the age of 10, Helen said her first sentence.
It is warm. Do you want that?
It is warm. It is warm.
Good, Helen.
Well, that's all I have, but there's a lot more about her. Wait. I think I see her. It's Helen Keller. Well, let's hear her share some of her life with us.
Hello, I'm Helen Keller, and I was born in 1880. When I was 19 months old, I got scarlet fever, which made me both blind and deaf. When I was 5 years old, my mother and father were worried about how I would turn out later on in life, so they sent me to 2 doctors. The first one told me I was hopeless, but the second one told me that I should visit Perkins School. When I was 6 years old, a lady named Anne Sullivan came from Perkins School. When I felt that she was a stranger, I immediately acted like a wild animal and disliked her very much. Miss Sullivan thought I was a spoiled brat. A couple weeks later, Miss Sullivan and I went into a greenhouse. She taught me how to spell sign language in my hand. As a reward, she gave me a doll. She also spelled into my hand milk, water, ground, pump, baby, and teacher. When I was 7 years old, Miss Sullivan took me to go meet Mr. Cleveland. I also met 12 other presidents. After that, she took me to Perkins School. When I got there, I was greeted by children, but I could not hear them. Before I knew it, I was becoming famous. A year later, I began to read hard books in Braille. And for the first time ever, I wrote a letter to my father and mother at home. When I was 10 years old, I visited a lady named Mrs. Lampson. She tried to teach me to speak, but all that came out of my mouth were mumbling sounds. The next day, she taught me how to say M-T-P-A-S and I. The day later, I spoke my first sentence. It is warm, I said. Miss Lampson told Miss Sullivan to teach me from now on. And then I said, I am not dumb now, I can speak. When I was 12 years old, I was determined to go to Radcliffe College. But before I went to Wright Humison and Cambridge School. At the age of 20, I finally went to Radcliffe School. In college, I wrote a story called The Story of My Life. My story was a published book on March 21st, 1903. In June 1904, I graduated from Radcliffe College with great honor. After that, Miss Sullivan and I bought a house in Wrentham, Massachusetts. Miss Sullivan decided to stay with me until she died. On May 1905, a gentleman named John Macy married Miss Anne Sullivan. Miss Anne Sullivan finally died in 1936, and I lost the dearest and most helpful friend I had ever had in life. Helen Keller died at the age of 87. Here are some closing facts. Now that you have heard about Helen Keller, you may now understand that she is the First Lady of Courage.